ẹ kú dédé àsìkò yìí ẹ sì káàbọ̀ sórí ètò ọmọ Oòduà tó ń dé sójú ìwòran yín o láti iléeṣẹ́ ìkànnì Wo TV. Òdu ni wá àwa kì í ṣàìmọ̀ fún lóko a tún ti dé o sórí ètò bá a ti ṣe máa ń dé tó ètò ọ̀hún ló wá balẹ̀ báyìí bí ọ̀wàrà òjò sójúde yín o àwa òmìnira ẹ bá ń wá pèrè fìdí àbẹ́ bá ń fìdí tí a pèrè mọ́lẹ̀ kájọ kán lágbá mi ètò tòní nítorí pé ń dá a mú afúra wa lórí ètò lónìí ó gbọgbọ́n kódà ó gbẹ̀ngbẹ́ ẹ jẹ́ ń pè ní ó gbẹ̀ngbẹ́ nítorí pé kàyéfì ọ̀rọ̀ kàbìtì la máa ń pè ní kàyéfì ọ̀rọ̀ tó ẹ bá ń wá pèrè fìdí àbẹ́ bá ń fìdí tí a pèrè mọ́lẹ̀ ká kán lágbá mi ètò tọ̀hún ká máa bá kinní ọ̀hún bọ̀ bá a ti ṣe máa ń ṣe tá a máa ń kìbọnú ara wọn lẹ́lẹ́yọ̀ ẹ̀yọ̀ bó bá ti wá yá yín bó bá ti yégun ni o ṣe mọ̀ pé ó ti yọrẹ́ àwa tá a wà ń bí náà àbá tèrè wá bí torí pé bàbá débi iṣẹ́ ṣíṣe náà là á ṣe ó ti wá yá ẹja jọ karabodò torí pé àní karabodò tán ká tó ṣe máa wá parọ́ pò tútù mú wá o ó ti yá bó bá ti yá yín ẹja jọ lọ.
Doing that, we have watched him. For example, the last time he briefed us, when I say us as the Executive Council, we found out that Nigerian arable land, only 2.5% of Nigerian arable land is being used. Yet people are shouting of unemployment. If we have invested more in agriculture, look, when we closed the border with Benin and Niger Republic, we stopped importation of rice. Now Nigerian, we produce the rice we need and we even export. Really, we have to exploit our own capacities. And Dr. Salami, it was fantastic. He is so committed, and economically, I think he's already a professor. We need him, and he's so committed and patriotic.
You don't have any favorite for 2023 in your party?
No, I wouldn't, because he may be eliminated if I mention it. I better keep it secret.
The last phrase, Mr. President, is your legacy.
Well, I think my legacy is that I try to make sure that we conducted ourselves with integrity. That means we stopped all the stealings as much as the system can allow. We stopped with appropriation. And for Nigeria, that is very, very important. The expectation from Nigeria, I tell you, is a young population. The expectation is so high that we must make sure that the resources are managed properly and that they understand resources are being managed properly. If they rebel, there will be trouble, a lot of trouble.
And then it was a wrap.
Your Excellency, President Muhammadu Buhari, many thanks for giving us this opportunity to speak with you. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you for punishing me.
Because that is the reason why we are still where we are now. We went like 1960 backward. You understand me? So why talk about that kind of person? I would not like to talk about him. You understand me? The truth is that I will just pay condolence to his family.
He was a man of influence. He actually makes an impact, especially to civil servants, in respect of this peculiar allowance that he added to our salary. So I'll say to an extent, he has actually done his own parts, and I pray the Lord grant him eternal rest.
During his tenure, he's really better than the tenure of our current president. So I think, from my experience during the tenure of Buhari, he did a lot of work too. Regardless, that the hardship too was tough, and the situation was not really easy for us too. But we really acknowledge his work, and may his soul rest in peace.
He's a good man, so I wish him safe journey. I wish him safe journey.
The death of our ex-president really hit us with a sledgehammer. because the legacy left by Mr. President General Muhammadu Buhari cannot be filled. The vacuum is open. The man with integrity, the loss of Buhari is the loss of Nigeria because he's a man of integrity. That is why in Hausa we used to call him Legaskia. That is the only legacy that we will give between is a man of integrity, man of honesty. We really lost him. It is a great loss. We lost a mentor. We lost a man of unity. May his soul rest in perfect, and Ajala Tupidasu be his final destination. Allahu Akbar, Allah Jikam Buhari, La ilaha illallah.
Reactions have continued to pour in for the late former President Muhammadu Buhari, who passed away on Sunday. Arise News correspondent Nisi Gabriel spoke with several dignitaries in Katsina as they disembarked from their flights, including the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Minister of Information and National Orientation, as well as the governors of Gombe and Zamfara states.
Welcome to Katsina, sir. Sir, just walk us through some of the profound memories you have of our former president.
When he was the head of state, he came up with war against indiscipline. And that kept us on our toes for some of us who were around that time. And that made Nigeria more disciplined as a people. We were conscious of his directives on being disciplined. As the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, he stood for integrity. You can't take it away from him. He was a man that we were proud of, both within the shores of Nigeria and outside the shores of Nigeria. He was seen as a man who was accountable and a man who had the spirit of integrity. There's no other word that you can use to describe the president.
Muhammadu Buhari, and some of the what we are hoping will happen in the next few minutes is the prayers, according to Islamic rite, in these kind of situation, the prayers and then the final committee to Mother Earth. And this is kind of situation that happens when the nation honors one of his own and one of the longest serving leaders in modern Nigerian political history. Yeah. He's going to be the second after Olusegun Obasanjo, who had 3 shots at being the leader of Nigeria.
We are grateful for all that he did, and we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his life, and we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will rest him in eternity in perfect peace.
Of dignitaries that have now arrived at that prayer ground. Earlier, we could tell you that Vice President Atiku Abubakar, whom candidate Buhari had run against in 2019, arrived alongside Aminu Tambuwal as well as Nasir El-Rufai. You can see an interview about to be conducted with Nigeria's Minister of Information, Mr. Malagi Idris, right there. But we can't hear what he's saying yet, but we see lots of activities like this.
We are glad that he has lived a good life. We are glad that some of those ideals that he has laid behind will continue. We also call on the younger ones to emulate some of those good qualities of former President Muhammadu Buhari, may his soul rest in peace. And the federal government, as you know, heavily led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has put in place a solid arrangement for the state funeral. Very soon we're expecting that to kick off. Already you have seen that dignitaries have started coming from across the area. We just saw the Prime Minister of Niger. We saw other dignitaries that have also come. 5 cabinet members are already here to witness this, and we are going to stay put till tomorrow until after the 3rd day prayer. We pray for the repose of the soul of late President Muhammadu Buhari, and we do hope the lessons of this will also help us to come together again in unity and for the progress of Nigeria, like President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has always preached. And we do hope that going forward, some of the good qualities, like I said earlier, of former President Muhammadu Buhari will be emulated by the younger ones. All we need at this time is prayers for unity, prayers for peace and for the prosperity of the whole country. So as we await the arrival of Mr. President and the arrival of the remains of the former president, we will stay put here and we'll keep you updated.
Well, it's unfortunate for what happened, but President Buhari was a great leader. And I can assure you that Nigerians are going to miss him. Well, I mean, he was a leader that had a foresight and was able to do so much for the country through his transformation agenda when he was president and even when he was head of state in Nigeria. So we're going to miss him. Thank you. Thank you.
Nigeria is mourning the passing of former President Muhammadu Buhari.
Its final resting and final passage of rite of passage rather, will be honored to him. So his hometown in Daura is Agog, and mournful as it may be, but somewhat in some other climates, they will say it's a celebration of life, considering that you've lived a very long, fulfilling life. Not only to service humanity, to your nation, and to himself and his family. It definitely puts the name Buhari on the global map as a Nigerian leader. And I'm not sure that anybody will question who a Buhari is, not only in Nigeria, but globally, because when you answer such a name, then easily we can be able to recollect or say to you, are you related to Muhammadu Buhari, a former Nigerian president? That is what is done not only for his family, but now anyone from Daura will be reckoned with as soon as you say you're from that village or from that hometown, because someone on the stature of Muhammadu Buhari has emerged from that. If you are certainly from Katsina, you will also be reckoned. Well, not only Muhammadu Buhari has come from there, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua also emerged from there. And these are notable personalities in the history of our nation. So it is a momentous occasion for Nigeria. Either way you look at it, if you're mourning it, as you should be, when this kind of personality leave this life, yes, it's sad. You don't want to lose them. But at 82, some people will say it's a celebration of life in every sense of it.
Indeed,
but then, yes, the nation mounts.
We're looking at more dignitaries arriving that prayer ground. What is not clear, one will imagine, though, that the president, it does appear that the president's motorcade now arriving the prayer ground. So clearly he's going to be a part of the prayers being said. Initially, some people had thought that he was only going to be at the airport receiving the body, and after the military rites, perhaps he was going to leave. But from the pictures that we could see earlier, we could see a motorcade driving into the premises. All the other dignitaries that we had seen earlier had come in on foot. You could see their vehicles at the back somewhere, and then they had come in on foot to the prayer ground. But we can see a motorcade driving into that premises. So it does appear that that will be the motorcade of President Bola Tinubu, who will be on the ground for the prayer rites as well. We had been seeing earlier pictures showing the arrival of many more other dignitaries, from political leaders to traditional rulers. You could see very clearly their courtiers very prominent amongst the peoples that have been waiting to receive the body. But we know any moment now the prayers will start for the final funeral rites of President Muhammadu Buhari, and the interment happening in his home, in his personal home in Daura. But the pictures you can see right there, prayers about to start any moment now. But we did see earlier, wish you could see those pictures of the motorcade driving into the prayer ground.
Indeed, this might not take a long time, if you look at the usual manner in which Islamic rites, rites of passage in a burial ceremony of this manner, it doesn't take you a long time. And you see, you also saw from the arrival of the body to when the body was being presented to the president and the military firework was done and the parade, it took less than 30 minutes. And thereafter, the journey by road took place, and this is just around an hour and a half. I imagine that the prayers will be in few minutes before the final committer to Mother Earth. And so these are the expectations within the coming hours, gradually behind schedule, based on what we understand before now. But as we can see from the live pictures, things are imagined, and we're gradually moving to the very end of this burial ceremony, which the federal government says it is a state burial in all sense of it, and every weight of the federal government have been thrown at it, every resources that is needed to give this man the honor he deserves as a former president, a two-term president, and a one-term military leader is being given to him. And you can see the personalities on the ground. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, former Vice President Oshibajo, former Governor of Sokoto State Aminu Tambuwa, former Governor of Kaduna State Nasiru El-Rufai, governors of Ogun State, governors of Ogun State, and Lagos State, Sokoto State, a delegation from Nigeria Republic. All of them are on the ground, and several cabinet members in the Tinubu's government are on the ground, and so many of the ministers who served in the Buhari cabinet, including Lai Mohammed and a host of others, are on the ground. And this is our continued coverage of the burial ceremony.
These are the moments when, seconds, it will seem stretching into minutes, and you're looking for the words to cover all of this, because it's already so close, yet, it's taking its time, because it's a funeral. It's not anything joyful here. It's a funeral, and usually, even if a celebration will happen afterwards, after all, the former president was 82, which in our context here in Africa is a celebration of life. The moment where the body is being interred, is usually still very solemn. That's why we're keeping our cameras trained on that patch you see there, because we expect any moment from now that's where the prayers will be taking place. But I'm wondering, if the president had died in office, will the ceremonies be any different from what we're currently seeing?
Well, I guess that it's going to be comparable. I think the only difference here would be that if the president dies in office, there's a little bit of transition that is still taking place that will not create the opportunity for this kind of elaborate planning, except, of course, whoever is taking charge can take control very quickly, and then because of the nature of Islamic burials, there's not so much time that is available even to do a lot of things. I imagine that there are a lot of people who would have loved to be here, but are in distant places, and because of the nature of Islamic rites also, you don't see a lot of the celebrations, because they prioritize, look, the body has to go committed to Mother Earth in 24 hours, I think maximum 48 if you have the control. So I think it will be comparable to your question if a president were to die in office, but we have seen at least one, which is...
another son of Katsina.
Another son of Katsina, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, and I don't know, Sean, you said you were on the ground, you experienced the funeral rites of President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua. What I remember was that I was in the studio I
was actually in the studio in the coverage. Pre and afterwards, there were roles that I played covering that burial, but I was something like this covering the burial, and they were very, very graphic in my memory. Very graphic moment, Mark. I mean, it was one that you never expected as a journalist that kind of the situation will ever happen in your lifetime, covering such a sad moment when the president had to die in office. But this is totally different. This man served his term, and now he's successful in office. He's won the coordinating and helping out with his burial. A close friend with him, man who helped his political career after failure of three times, and now having to get into getting elected on the fourth time trying. And in all of this, and I know that there was a time that I met you in Lagos with Professor Oshibajo, and this was the moment before the few times that you and Professor Oshibajo had come to the studio for interviews and all of that. Oshibajo is one person that also came into office with a lot of integrity. And the same with, so there are two men whose integrity are labored on them. Yeah. And in all of these moments, campaign, governance, and all whatnot, when the president was sick, when he was in office, and the vice president had to, coming as an acting president, and I imagine that they were constant contact with London when the president was sick. What was it like? The families, what was it like that? Because you were close with the prof then.
Yeah, well, so one of the things that I will remember very well about that is that, the acting president and was the vice president was in active communication with President Buhari, and I remember him saying to us that each time he calls him, the man says to him, "Hey, look, go and run the country, go and do stuff, that what will you do if I were to be dead? You will have to take decisions." And say, "Look, it's your call, go and get stuff done." A lot of the times, that was the kind of
so he had his backing.
Oh, I mean, for the most part, and I mean, based on what I know, clearly, he had his backing. I mean, look, some of the most controversial decisions that he even had to take, when as acting president, he had to remove the Director General of the SSS after the invasion of the National Assembly. The president, based on what we know, had no problems, because it was clear what was happening. So for what we knew in the open, clearly they worked together. They were in constant touch. I remember that when he had even the longer medical leave, that the acting president had to go to London. If you remember, he had to go to London, met him when he was recovering, and came back right away. And the guy kept telling him that, "Look, you're acting president, you are in charge, get stuff done." So they had that kind of chemistry. And to what you said, both of them are men of integrity. It's what you could easily pick out between the two of them. They had that chemistry in terms of their depth of honesty, their commitment to the nation, and their public spirit. Both of them shared all of those values.
Patriotism.
Yeah, very, very. But clearly, and I think the people who designed the combination, they knew what they were doing. People who thought that, okay, look, you needed an Oshibajo to work with Buhari.
I think that President, VP Oshibajo's tribute was quite, even though it was very short, it was quite poignant. Capturing the essence of their time together. It was very personal as well. The fact that he had to call Her Excellency Aisha Buhari and also the son. But he says Nigeria has lost a true patriot, a man whose life was marked by unyielding devotion to the nation he loved. He said President Buhari's legacy will endure as a testament to the nobility, that word which you had been referring to in his name, Buhari meaning noble, the nobility of public service defined by honesty, discipline, and unwavering commitment to the public good.
So let me give you an example of what the vice president might be referring to when he talk about his unwavering commitment to public good. Most people don't know that after the president and the vice president took office in 2015, there was a little tussle in the government about the implementation of social investment program. I said, little tussle. People felt that, that was just for campaign. And then you couldn't do it. It was Oshibajo and Buhari that stood and said that this thing got to be done. We saw, there were people in the cabinet that said, no, you can't get this thing. This thing is not doable. But because Oshibajo pushed and the president believed in it, in another 2, 3, 4 years, the thing was winning acclaim locally, and internationally. So that's an example of his unwavering, the president's unwavering, because there was quite a significant pushback from cabinet members who felt that we couldn't do this social investment thing, it doesn't make sense, don't let us even bother. But the president ensured that he gave the support, and it happened.
Now, well, I mean, the implementation, I think the jury will be out on that.
Well, whatever happened from 2019 is a different ballgame.
Well, the jury will certainly be out. But, these are some of the remarkable things that those who worked very closely with him can attest to. His sense of humor, the fact that he was a patriot through and through, his sense of integrity, discipline. These are things that Nigerians always yearn for. They want to see it in national life. And when they see it in an individual, it would seem that they support that one individual to want to be the leader, so to speak. But clearly, it would seem that the expectations, and sometimes the outcomes can be very wide apart. We're not a more disciplined nation because President Buhari was president for 8 years. Why do you think that somehow we missed the mark somehow? Is it that we're unable to put in the processes, or are we just hoping that the leader will set the tone? And that tone about punctuality, for instance, which, even some of his cabinet members made reference to, was there, but we still haven't gotten it.
Well, I mean, generally, I think that it's just a reflection of where we are as a people. That's where I look at it. And I think, to a very reasonable extent, people in leadership, has to take the bigger brunt, for wherever we are. But I think there's also an element of the fact that those leaders actually come out from among us as a people, So it has to be a shared responsibility between the leaders and the followers, the kinds of demands that we ought to make that we are not making, the kinds of things that we shouldn't tolerate that we tolerate. I have had instances where people say that, look, I mean, if you want to go on a clean slate, if you want to press the factor of integrity, the people will say that, no, it's your turn, do everything that you need to do, bring the cookies to this side of the country, bring the cookies to this section of the country, don't bother too much about, so we have this crisis, this moral crisis that we are dealing with as a people. And that explains, in my view, some of the things that we continue to battle with over and again. And it is becoming much of a cycle, of crisis. Hopefully we get a break, we keep trying.
Well, we're still training our eyes on Daura because we know that that prayer should be, underway any moment now. We've seen dignitaries throng the prayer ground in Daura, and we know that the body is on the ground in Daura, but we are still training our eyes there to know precisely when the prayer rites will start. And as soon as that happens, we certainly will be bringing you the visuals here on Channels Television. We have to thank you so much for staying with us. We're still very much here, and we're talking about the life and times of the man, the president, the leaders. Shehu will also highlight the soldier, the general, Muhammadu Buhari, who lived from 1942 and finally said goodbye to Mother Earth on the 13th of July this year. Well,
certainly, the expectations that, of course, you see the President Bola Tinubu receiving the body there, as he said he would. But we do know that the Islamic burial rites, which is the funeral prayer, the Salat al-Janazah, was been trying to understand from those who are in the know. They say it's a collective supplication for the deceased, seeking forgiveness and mercy for them. It's a communal prayer, I understand, an obligation performed in congregation, focusing on supplications for the deceased and for all Muslims. And the prayer involves specific recitations and du'as with the intention of seeking God's mercy and forgiveness for the departed soul. What we're perhaps going to immediately see is, of course, the funeral prayer, the burial, and the mourning period. So this is just to prepare the minds of everyone for what's to come in the coming hours or days, and of course in the moments that we are expecting live pictures of what is happening. We're having, and we understand that the body has since arrived in Daura, and moment we were expecting whether or not the president has arrived in Daura. We saw motorcade arriving in Daura. We cannot confirm whether the president is in it, but we do know that the body has arrived, and the prayer, which is going to be a congregational, a communal prayer for everyone, specifically for the deceased, for God to grant the deceased a mercy. And then I don't know whether this will happen. The burial rites, I understand, of course, the grave will be dug, and this would have happened. Mourners will lower the body into the grave, and for the prayers, we understand that sometimes we would see some kind of a washing of the body. I don't know whether that will happen or not, but basically, our understanding of what to expect. And so you can see some of the pictures right there. The motorcade arriving, immediate preparation of the body is supposed to be the very first one before the prayer starts. And whatever the preparation of the body means, and all of that before the prayer, the burial in essence, and the mourning period, which is usually between 3 days and above. Yeah, those are the expectations, isn't it?
Well, I think, it does appear that our correspondent, Larry Lasisi, is preparing to come on standby for us to give us an update of what it is. I can see him. Yeah. Larry, if you can hear us, where are we now? Because we know authoritatively that the body has now arrived in Daura. We had heard earlier a request by the Emir of Daura asking that there be a stopover. We understand that they were pretty close in life, that the body be, stopover at the palace of the Emir of Daura. Do we have a confirmation that that request was granted, if really it was made?
Yeah, we will get to hear Larry for a moment, but of course what we can see right now is the road leading into the prayer ground. Yeah, in the ingress and the egress. So on both sides, you can see the end part of the road, which will lead you to where the prayers will be conducted.
It does appear that road is it been cordoned off?
It will be cordoned off, I imagine. See soldiers on that end, and I imagine that members of the Guards Brigade will be on guard in that place, because whenever you see the president, you will see some of his folks, and it means something that the number one citizen and all the security apparatus is in place. But it's going to be heavily guarded. As much as this is going to be a Daura thing, a Katsina thing, a family thing, sometimes when the president is in a place, I remember there was interesting that the former president, had visited the home of one of Nigeria's elder statesmen, and the oldest son had stepped out for a moment just before the president entered. And we understand that until the president left, the former president, I'm not talking about Buhari now, the son couldn't enter into the house until the president, because the protocol is that as soon as the president enters, the door is shut. And in fact, covering the president, it really happened with vice presidents, but covering the president, as soon as the president enters, and as soon as the president gets on the podium, all doors cannot open. Yeah. So if you are in it or outside, you're sealed in or sealed out. And so the kind of security, and you don't want to play with the Guards Brigade. Those guys, and you see, the villa security guys, those guys don't take any jokes. They have their eyes on the goal.
Well, I can see Larry's been touching his ear for a while, so I believe that he can hear us. Larry, if you can hear us, can you bring us up to speed with what the current situation is on the ground? We see members of the NYSC there. We know authoritatively that the body has arrived. Are the prayers about to start, Larry?
Markwek, I hope you can hear me. Everything is going really. The tension is high right now. So we've seen a couple of aircraft hovering around the area, and then it appears we've seen some of the what you call the first few vehicles that are normally in the convoy of the president, and they're making their way here. Some vehicles have stopped in front of the house, and it appears they're there for now. But like we said, it appears this is the convoy of the president with the body of the former president. And we've seen the service chiefs go in. We've seen the governors, a bus with the governors going in. We've seen some former ministers, more dignitaries. I can bet that that place is filled right now, but we'll still have to make room for more, because more dignitaries are yet to go in. And I'm sure you remember all the dignitaries you saw arriving there, from the First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, who came with the former First Lady, Mrs. Aishatu Buhari, with the president, the vice president, the team that went to London to come back with the body. And I'm expecting that they will make their way in right now. And it is until they make their way there that the ceremony will kick off. Mark.
Well, Larry, if you can hear us, I mean, we've heard you say you cannot confirm just yet whether the president has arrived, but clearly we can see, some motorcade. Do you know if the request, because we understand that a request was made earlier by the Emir of Daura for a stopover at his place. Do you know if that request, if you heard about it, do you know if it was granted?
I did not hear about that request. I know there was some discussions earlier whether or not that will take place. But I think with the time factor we have right now, with the time the aircraft from London landed, with the time it's taking to arrive here, with the ceremony still yet to be done. And as I explained earlier, my understanding is that the Emir of Katsina and the Emir of Gusau are here right now at the prayer ground. That's plus all the other dignitaries, serving ministers, former ministers, governors, service chiefs, serving members of the executive, ministers, a busload of ministers made their way in right now. I believe this is where the prayers will take place, and then from there straight to the lane in state, the lane to rest. Maupe.
So now, Larry, I know you have a clearer view, a clearer understanding as the moments get closer to the final, the interment. From what you told us earlier, things I guess are clearer now. Bring us up to speed about the rites. From a few things that those who are familiar with Islamic burial rites of passage are telling us as to how the prayers will be, the manner in which the prayer conduct will look like. What more do we know now, Larry?
Okay, well, you were right. Just as you said, from what you've heard, that usually is how it happens. The ceremony is not much. It's not going to be much. My understanding is that the body of the former president will be laid in full glare of everybody. People will gather around. Prayers will be offered. Once prayers are offered, and I'm sure they will decide who will be most appropriate to take those prayers. I told you we have two emirs present here. That will be decided. After that, my understanding is that the body will then be moved to the residence. The ceremony should not take too long, and my understanding is with the time factor, and I appreciate that a lot of the dignitaries that came in will want to make their way out of Katsina today. This ceremony will move as quickly as possible, and I'm emphasizing as possible, because where you have a situation where there are dignitaries, where there are people that are that may want to pay their respect, it will come to the point that you might have to give and take when it comes to the issue of time. But I'm expecting that they will work as quickly as possible to make that happen.
I know that a lot of people have since arrived. Some of them include Aliko Dangote, Nigeria's foremost industrialist, and governors of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Ogun State, Dapo Abiodun of Sokoto State, former governors, Atiku Abubakar. What is the arrangement looking like from what you see?
Okay, from what I see, the arrangement within the prayer ground, there's no setting for such recognitions. There's not going to be any roll call or recognition. It's going to be straightforward prayers. And my understanding is, rightly, they will give some level of, maybe to give allowance for some recognized people to stand close, but it's not going to be such that you're going to have dignitaries called to see them coming in or see them who is here, who is not. It's not going to be such. And just as I explained earlier, because of the time factor, we may have things moving a little bit faster.
So can you confirm for us then that the presence of the person we're waiting for is that of the president?
I can't confirm right now. I do know his media team have landed. They're usually the head of the convoy there on ground, but they've quickly made their way into the prayer ground. My understanding is that they're close. They should be coming forward any minute. That's my understanding. I do know, just as I'm sure you saw on the camera, a couple of cars stopped by the residents. But what I think should happen, taking into consideration, just as I said earlier, the time factor, is that they may make their way forward to the prayer ground. And the security officers here have been trying their best to ensure that they keep things orderly, that there's a free flow of traffic. Only person they're making room for is the commander-in-chief, the entourage, the family, to make their way in. So we'll keep monitoring, and I'm sure you see me looking over my shoulder. I'm trying not to be caught unawares that something is happening, and I haven't seen it. But as I said, they should be here.
I imagine, Larry, the Grand Qadi, the Chief Imam of Daura, of perhaps, some heavyweight religious Islamic leader will have to lead that prayer, considering the personality involved here. We're talking about the former president. Is it okay for you? Are you able to confirm for us those who might be participating? It's a commoner prayer, of course, just to build the expectations of our viewers tonight. This evening. It's getting to the night, and we're starting from the morning anyway. But so, do you have an understanding, as we do know, that the emir of Daura will also be in the mix?
The emir of Daura is here. The emir of Gusau is here. To my understanding, and I stand to be corrected, they should be to a large extent the highest ranking among those here. But I think, just as you said, if the Grand Qadi is here, it depends on who is delegated to take that role. I don't have that information right now, and I'm very, very worried about leaving where I am right now. It's a few meters to where...
Don't leave, Larry. Don't leave.
I don't want to leave.
Describe
I
to
really
us,
don't want
Larry, for a lot of people who are not familiar with Daura, the home of the former president, and where the prayer is going to be held. Just give us a vivid description, if you may, of the prayer ground and where the burial pit is going to be, and some of those details. Can you do that for us in a moment?
Okay, I think I can do that fairly well. Now, the area, this is the GRA of Daura, and the president's residence is behind me. But by my right, the road that goes to my right here leads to where I'm told is a helipad, where the president usually, when he comes by chopper or the helicopter, he drops. So that is the ground that is being made or used as a makeshift prayer ground. It's basically an open arena where many people can gather and a lot of people can come in to pay their respect. As it is right now, my expectation is that ground will be where they will use just to accommodate the number of dignitaries, the number of people that have come, and then they will move to the residence. The residence, I'm told, is a little bit, it's smaller, as you can imagine. So the whole point of getting everybody in will be problematic, and I think this is the easy way that has been, the choice that has been made to give plenty of people the opportunity to pay their last respect. And I can tell you for free that if there are VIPs there, maybe they're like 20-30%. The majority of people there are people, ordinary citizens, people who have come to pay their respect, and they've been coming in. I'm told there are more outside that haven't been allowed in a bid to ensure that the space is not too crowded and all that. So from the prayer ground, we'll move to the residence, where I'm told will be just for a few people, and then would have that done.
Where is the body
as I'm
as
speaking
we
with you
speak?
right
we
now,
understand the body has
the
arrived
NSA,
in Daura.
the NSA is here. He's making his way
already?
in.
Or is it,
stay in the ambulance?
Is it still in the ambulance, or is it in the house, or waiting to be transported to the prayer ground?
Okay, I would like to call your attention to a large body of people making their way in, and I think I sight the vice president. Vice president is within that entourage. Within that body, I think I can see former President Yemi Oshibajo, and you can see them making their way. The president, beside the vice president, is the host governor, if I'm right. The speaker is also there, and I have the governor of Borno State. It's a large body. They're making their way in, and behind them you see the chief of staff. The chief of staff, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, is also making his way into the prayer ground, and dignitaries are arriving. Just before we saw the delegation of the vice president, we sighted businessman Aliko Dangote making his way in. He was accompanied by another businessman, Tinubu. He also made his way in, and we had the national security advisor making their way in. So I think this is also, I'm sure, following protocol, so that they have arrived before the president comes in. Because usually at such occasions, most occasions, once the president arrives at a scene, the door is closed and nobody else is allowed in. So I think they've done some sort of order to allow the dignitaries, vice president, governors, more governors coming. And I think the next people we should see should be the commander-in-chief, President Bola Tinubu.
Larry, if you may, and perhaps if the cameraman can do us a favor and just move away from your side a bit and just zoom in towards the gate and the entrance, so we can vividly show our viewers what exactly the entrance and the personalities who are making their way in look like. Are we able to do that? And let's perhaps get some feel of what
I'm going to do right now
looks like at the moment.
Sheung, I think the moment we're waiting for is here. I can see an ambulance, an army ambulance making his way. I think my cameraman, if you can zoom in so that we'll try and get that. We have the ambulance with a very, very, very large concentration of military men, security officers, and the protocol that is being given is normally that is given for the excuse me, sir. Sorry, please, just a minute, just give me room. So you can see the protocol that is usually given for the president. We have security officers holding the body of the vehicle and moving in. And that, I'm told, is the body of the former president as he makes his way into the prayer ground. And you can see I told you before that they were trying to keep a lot of people back. But what we have now is a mass following that is going to accompany the president, accompany the body, accompany the ambulance into the prayer ground. And I just can't believe this. I just can't believe this.
All right. Larry,
and I think right now, we have the president. The president has arrived. The president has arrived. The president is making his way into the prayer ground.
How difficult this moment could be. If you want to take a moment, just take it.
The president's convoy, the president is moving in right now.
An entourage of governors in his convoy, so to speak. But now we're seeing this fleet of cars going into that prayer ground, ostensibly conveying the president right behind the ambulance, which we had seen earlier, conveying the body of the late president. So it does appear that any moment now, the prayers, the final prayer rites, the Islamic rites will begin. Prayer said for the repose of the soul of the late president and subsequently the interment. But best efforts, it would seem, to control the crowd. But President Muhammadu Buhari, a man of the people in life, a man of the people also still, especially the people of Katsina, in death. And they will not be deprived, will they?
You can only try, Mark, where you can imagine this is... sometimes we call it organized chaos when you're covering an event like which you must be prepared for. And part of our training is don't get your cable locked in an organized chaos in coverage. Don't get your camera brought down. Don't let your cameras be destroyed. Or, a lot of measures. But I can imagine the security guys too. This civil kind of congregation, you almost cannot do anything when it gets out of hand. And you see the sea of heads who have gathered there and just making sure that everyone has a feel, either in sight or in touch, of the final moment, the body of this man who is not only a towering political figure, but also who had climbed to the very highest of his military career as a soldier. And as I said earlier, a soldier, a symbol, and many, many things to so many people. Symbol because there are a lot of people who say Buharism has become an aphorism for a governance philosophy, a policy, because some people came about that. Buharists have now become the ardent followers and those who believe in the philosophy of Buhari. And so we've seen many, many years, more than almost 20 years of followership of Buhari as a political figure and several years of military service. And now that journey terminates today. 82 years of life of service to the nation. Out of those 82 years, he spent about 10 years being the leader of this country. He served over 30 years in the Nigerian military. He served as a political party leader. He served as a leader of the nation. And of course, regionally and globally, he's played so many roles. He's got his final flight as a human into London, but didn't return. And now a flight in body to Nigeria today and a final journey home to his maker. And being committed to Mother Earth is what we're seeing. The procession, the final burial rite in the Islamic way for President Muhammadu Buhari. Coming through the site where President Muhammadu Buhari will be prayed for in the funeral procedure in the Islamic way, and that prayer is going to be a communal prayer. And earlier on, we saw President Bola Tinubu alongside Vice President Kashim Shettima, President Umar Sissoko Mbayo of Guinea-Bissau, Prime Minister of Niger, Ali Lamin Zaini, former President of Niger, Isufu Mahamadou, and former Vice President Yemi Oshibajo, all receiving the casket carrying the body of In the solemn procession, the pallbearers escorted the casket into a waiting military convoy for the 1-hour journey to Dara, with funeral prayers and the burial ceremony. This is what we see.
kamar an kawo babu hanya suka tsaya bakin don duka can juma sai a yi ta huma da kawai a ce na nan shi sai a yi ta hukumar ganin sani biya yi ba da gane in wa'ancan sarakunan suka fita biyu gudan za su yi da sauran sai su ba mutane can ba sa tafiya ne ka gane magana ba ka gano kamara ta adanta amma wani mutane sun san yau ko kuna ina ai ne ba wake a cikin su suke wake ko ayo ya shiru ya shiru ake sallai ina ga ma fada nan ne duka muna nan an sa mu cikin helifad amma kuma duka ba abin da wanda sa abin da yake a waje Allah ne sallah ta zo ai Allah ne da karfe 5 Allah ka ga maka yan jarida su kansu ba za su iya baka labari ba abin da wannan zai baka ina gab da yanki sana kuna yin ka shiga kuma kan an ce wai a fita kuma da hanyar fita wallahi su kan su yi organizer abin ba ya tuta muna nan mu ne ga muna ai fara cikin wani so za a farata Allah wani zai ci ai ba wannan bane ba wannan nan cikin da ake da cikin can ai da bugu a nan ku tashi ake wannan shigo wannan Allahu akbar wallahi ina can amma ina ba za ta fi ba ma hanya kan yi wannan gwamna abin da ya ba mu karabi abin da kawai Allah ya hankali ai yanzu ba ya sallafo da wani yanzu kun za ku daga gaya mana ina tare da su ba a kan mike ne ke yasa Baba, an yi sallar ne? Za a fara. Sallar za a yi a can waje? Yanzu muka zuru. Ya ce da an kulle ba. Kai ne kakar dama za mu tambaye ka. An kulle ba. Kai kake ganin wanda bai ganuwa. Kai ke kallon kowa. An kulle ba na ba. Wata hikima ne da muka shigo ya karye mana. Bari ba su kana. Mutane da kai. Security. ina kallon TV wata za ki sai ji magana ba a yi ba yanzu dai za a yi karama ce ni na toma da ita daman ajiye abuna ne na to da wajen kagaci layi ne kawai an fara ne ma amani laifin ka ne wuka ai ba ya gano laifin ya bi mu Allahu Akbar. An gama?
Okay, that was the funeral prayer led by the Chief Imam of Dora and attended by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in honor of late President Muhammadu Buhari. And the place was, the helipad was too full that the funeral had to be conducted outside and with the remains inside the because of the bear. And ambulance is now being moved out of the premises or the surrounding of the helipad to the residence of the late leader, where he'll be laid to rest within the courtyard of that private residence here in Daura. That attracted He lived a significant portion of his life here, especially when he left the military and after leaving office as president, the 15th president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Indeed, the people of Daura are in a state of mourning, though it's a national mourning. There is 7 days declared by the president as days of mourning. Flags are flying at half-mast, and all ministries, departments, and agencies directed to open condolence register at the entrances of their various offices in honor of the great leader who is now receiving the final respect from the nation he served for several decades, because he joined the military in 1962, so he has been serving the country for more than 6 decades. 1962 to 2025 is exactly 63 years. Now the president, vice president, emir of Daura, ministers, and all dignitaries are moving towards the residence of former President Muhammadu Buhari, which is located not far away from this helipad here in Daura. It's about 250 meters away from this place, and it is there within the courtyard he will be laid to rest, which is the final respect in his honor. And the 7-day mourning continues till Sunday next weekend. And the third day Fidel prayer is expected to be held tomorrow morning, that is Tuesday, at his private residence, and is expected to be attended by the Vice President Kashim Shettima, who has been with the family of the deceased, together with the Chief of Staff to the President, Right Honorable Femi Bajabiamila. And the prayers is part of the morning. It's an additional activity after the funeral prayers to seek Allah's mercy and forgiveness upon a deceased person. And of course, thousands of people are here and join in doing so, and more are expected to do it again at the Fidel prayer, which with Vice President Kashim Shettima, who representing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on that occasion. Now we are expecting to see if our colleagues can get it, the location of the burial within the courtyard of his private residence here in Daura. How many?
Live pictures still coming to you from Daura in Katsina State after the prayers have been said for the body and the repose of the soul of late President Muhammadu Buhari in his hometown of Daura. You can see that well-wishers and mourners are now thronging towards his residence for the final burial, for the final interment of the body into Mother Earth. So these are live pictures coming to you from Daura. The prayers, Islamic prayers, the Salatu Janazah has now been said, led by the Chief Imam of Daura. And we now know that the body is now proceeding to the compound where it will be
Friday, are you people on my visuals? Because I want to cut off.
Former President Muhammadu Buhari.
I know that
okay, so I can
at the grave side there will be some prayers before the body is lowered, and after the prayers, of course, the lining stay, the funeral prayers, which has been said now by the Chief Imam of Daura, and there will be now the movement for the corpse for final interment is what we're seeing right now, and you can see the crowd. So the prayers held at the helipad area, and now the lying state proper, or the interment, because the lying state is what we're seeing a moment ago. The interment will now happen at the residence of the late former president Muhammadu Buhari in the final interment, and will also be conducted by the chief imam, which is going to be at the Great Pit side, which is in the compound. Then after, we expected some military activities, including a 21 gun salute.
I told him. Apart from that, I told him that the convoy is being faster than usual, so that people might not be able to get it. Okay. My brother, even here, there is no goodness
earlier that this process, the final prayer, the funeral prayer, the janazah is usually a commoner prayers, basically praying to God for God to bless and to forgive the deceased and the family, and all. That's the essence of the prayer, which is said commonly, and as that has been done, and I assume that it was going to be by the chief imam, whether of Katsina or Dara, but we right now that is by the chief imam of Dara, who is leading the prayers, and who also the final interment, the prayers at the graveside will be conducted. You can see how people are moving. It's a walk distance from the helipad area to, I don't know, the compound, the home of the former president isn't as big, and I don't know whether this kind of crowd has ever been anticipated to accommodate the kind of persons.
Well, we don't know. Sure, when we know that the crowd will always be anticipated. It will be how to control and make sure that there is no overcrowding. We've been told over and over again that the final interment will be a private affair. Just a few people will be allowed into the compound. Now we're seeing that people are moving from that makeshift prayer ground, which was the helipad where the prayers held, and they're thronging in their numbers. The thing is, if the security agencies will be able to control them in a civil manner, because for their own good and, to prevent any stampede or anything of the sort, the crowds have to be controlled for that compound to only be able to accommodate just the number of people that it can accommodate. We're seeing more and more pictures of dignitaries who are making their way out of that prayer ground. It's unclear if they will be all at the final interment site. I think we can only conjecture at this point as to whether or not they will be there, because it's unclear how many people that compound will be able to take. But clearly, they were all at the prayer ground, all of the dignitaries that have arrived. Our correspondent, Larry Lasisi, did tell us earlier that the rites will be very short as possible, because a lot of people will be looking to make their way out of Daura this evening and have to get perhaps to Katsina for onward traveling to their various destinations. Maybe they'll pass the night in Katsina, maybe they'll move to other neighboring states where they'll pass the night. But I don't think it's for nothing that we have choppers on the ground. We're told that choppers were hovering around earlier, perhaps not just for security reasons. Maybe they'll also be conveying people out of the place. But maybe it's early hours yet, or early minutes yet to be talking about that, given that the body is not yet in the ground. The body has now made its way, or is making its way to the courtyard of the late president, where it will finally be interred. We're still looking at dignitaries leaving the makeshift prayer ground out of that place. We've been told that there was going to be a little reception of sorts for dignitaries who came for that event. It doesn't quite say where. We also know that there will be a condolence visit, women's condolence visit at the family house of former President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. But yes, live pictures coming to you from Daura in Katsina State, the final rites of passage of late President Muhammadu Buhari, who died in London on the 13th of July and is now being interred in his hometown of Daura in Katsina State, northwest Nigeria.
I doubt very well whether we are going to be able to see the videos of the interment itself, considering the size of the house, you know, and the fact that the family seem to prefer a very private occasion for that. I've seen in the live feed a lot of the dignitaries walking away because I don't know how many people will be able to
fit in there.
You know, if they were even supposed to open the place up, it's very unclear that they'll be able to get a lot of the dignitaries, you know, at the interment, you know. But it'll be interesting to see how that is going to be determined, you know, in the circumstances. It's a very busy day for the security guards, as you can tell.
Very busy day indeed.
The brigade of guards and the SSS and all of them must have had a very onerous duty to perform right there.
Well, we know that there will also be a 21-gun salute afterwards, and we did mention earlier that there was a flag draping that casket. We know that according to Muslim rites, the body will not be interred with that casket. It will be taken out of the casket. The flag will be folded according to military fashion and given to the Muhammadu Buhari family in gratitude for the service that their father granted the country in his time. So there are still certain aspects, some of which we'll continue to cover here, but the pictures you're currently seeing are pictures of people leaving the makeshift burial ground, which we understand was a helipad converted to that use for the final rite, for the final prayers, the Salatu Janaza, which was said for the late president and the repose of his soul. So pictures we'll continue to look at there. We can see the dignitaries making their way out, some of them in those buses and those vehicles coming out of that makeshift prayer ground.
I don't think we have even seen in Daura, we've not seen the body, the corpse, the casket.
No, what we've seen is the ambulance, which was conveying the casket, which had conveyed the casket to Daura and also to the burial ground. We saw it make its way out of that place clearly and ostensibly to the house. We were yet to see pictures of the house, but we imagine that is where it will be going. And maybe even as we speak, for all we know, it is already being interred, because we also know that according to Muslim rites, it has to be done before sundown.
Right, and it's already outside 5 o'clock.
Yes, it's already 5 o'clock, so perhaps that will have to be done as quickly as possible. So we continue to bring you pictures, talk about the life and times of the leader, President Muhammadu Buhari, his transition from General Muhammadu Buhari, even though there are those who say, look, he was once a general, always a general. And even at that, try as hard as he wanted to, he really couldn't shed that toga of being a general. And the controversy it created from GMB to PMB. But today we're looking at the life and times, the legacy of the man, Muhammadu Buhari.
Absolutely. What a day, one that we go down in history. And of course, we're seeing some live pictures. The president, Bola Tinubu,
Other people from different political divides, people from different faith, gathering in solemn reverence for the man who has had the opportunity to lead Nigeria in different capacities. First as military president, and then later as democratically elected president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Oh boy, they won't kill me. Oh no. You can't not here.
We have it. We get into the very final moment in this burial ceremony for the interment of the President Muhammadu Buhari. And we can see, of course,
the final resting place.
Absolutely.
So we can see that dug out in typical Islamic fashion. There is a specific way in which the grave is dug, and we can see it very clearly. Only one media house has been allowed to bring these pictures to you.
Go to this side of the compound.
Yes, indeed. We can see seated in front, a little distance away, a few feet away from that dugout grave, President Muhammadu Buhari seated there. We saw earlier Vice President Kashim Shettima, Yemi Osinbajo. We also saw the Speaker Abbas also seated there, as well as a few other governors. I could make out Governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, right there at the burial ground. And then a throng of other dignitaries by that courtyard area there. You can see it's a small crowd compared with the crowd that we had seen earlier at the prayer ground. So somehow the security agencies have been able to do their work to make sure that the crowd at the final interment is limited. I think any moment now we should be seeing the ambulance conveying the body being drawn in there, perhaps military pallbearers as well, bringing that body to the final resting place, which we can see dug right in front of the seated dignitaries at that final resting place.
The pallbearers that we saw, some of the finest generals in the army across the different formations, the army, the Air Force, and the Navy, serving as pallbearers to convey the body of, I'm not sure how many of them actually met him in service. A lot of them who must have heard of him, not maybe cited or see him in active service, but then is the generals carrying the body of another general, and in this sense, paying homage to one person who led different battalions, who led the Nigerian military, led as a military head of state, as a democratically elected president. And this time around, at 82, the sun set on him. And this has to be done before sunset. But then, it's the Islamic way of doing things. And at this end is the live pictures. Of course, we do know that for some reasons, the television station is allowed to go this far into the compound, but then we get in you what we need to in this continued coverage of the passing and the burial of President Muhammadu Buhari. About 4 leaders out of Nigeria had come to pay their respect, and in not only in honor of this man, but representing their countries. I'm not sure if we have the natural sounds and some of the sights and the sounds coming with the sights that we can see. Maybe we can be able to reveal those to you.
The simplicity of this whole process is what will rekindle the thought of the vanity of life in itself. For a man who was the
Oftentimes these are the challenges, when maybe just an exclusive is granted the media house for something like this, for an occasion like this. Ideally, what would have been ideal is that a media house who covers on behalf of everyone will not have their logo on, or will not have their, all of this paraphernalia on, so that all the media houses can also, share in this moment, much as the family did say they want it to be as private as possible. But clearly, this is a state funeral. The president is attending, as well as, many prominent state officials present here. But this is what we have. Yeah. We're able to bring you these pictures, and we wish we could let you, just feel the ambience, the solemnity surrounding the ambience. But it does appear that we'll need to talk you through it. Surrounding the grave, there are other dignitaries. Not all of them are seated, but we know that seated right there and waiting for that body as it makes its way now is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who's seated right there. And we can see it does appear it's making its way. It's not being escorted. Is that the son? Is that the son of the president?
It looks like it.
Yes, that is the son of the president, Yusuf, who is being brought by his friends, perhaps being comforted by them and being drawn into that gathering as he should be. I can imagine that it might have been tough for him because, in a gathering like that, as you did say, even sons can get lost, especially when you're trying to wade through the president's security cordon. So perhaps he had a tough time going through the cordon of the president, but now he is right there, and hopefully many more family members, I hope that they have not been cordoned out of this particular moment. But pictures that we're seeing, we're trying to talk through it as we see it develop on our screen. We see right there the president's son going to meet and greet President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, greeting the Vice President Kashim Shettima as well, and all the other dignitaries that are seated there, acknowledging their presence as they wait for the body of the late president to be finally interred. I'm trying to make out who else we're seeing seated right there.
Of course, the vice president is beside.
Yes, I
and
could see that.
flanked on those other sides, leaders of other countries that we've seen arriving today in Katsina. The President Umaru Sissoco Embargo of Guinea-Bissau, Prime Minister of Niger, Ali Lamin Zainin, former President of Niger, Yusufu Mahamadou, and former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. All of them, we understand, may be present there. And we see sitting governors, Imo to Lagos, Ogun State, Sokoto State, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. I'm not sure how far some of these dignitaries are allowed to go in witnessing what we're seeing right here. And the moment for the final interment, that is what we are hoping to see, the moment of the final interment, which is happening right in the heart of the residence of the former President Muhammadu Buhari in his Daura residence.
Moment now, we're hoping that the body will be arriving that courtyard, because clearly that is what the dignitaries are waiting for, that moment when the body arrives and will be interred into Mother Earth in its final resting place. You know, Sean, just taking a look at that final resting place and the specificity with which, graves for Muslims are dug. They're dug in a very specific way. First, you have this wide opening, then you now have a very narrow opening, just enough to accommodate the body when it has been wrapped in that white cloth and thrown into the earth, sealed forever in its belly. It does appear it is designed to just let us know that we're just a very small piece in the scheme of things. And this perhaps will be all that you're really entitled to at the end of life. That little space. And that is if you're lucky. You know, one will be very fortunate to even have a ceremony like this, and even that little space in Mother Earth. There are those who are buried or who die and nobody even knows where they're buried or where they died. You know, so even this, it will seem, but this is a reminder that we go with nothing. We come with nothing and we go with nothing.
Yeah. It's a reality, isn't it? And the understanding of the cycle of life, that the life starts in the most simple manner. You come, without being graphic with words right now, but it's a reality, naked. As you come from your mother's womb, and one day you'll be returning in that starkness of nature, and you will go, and with nothing you came, bearing nothing, except for Ige. In the Yoruba parlance, Ige bears something when he's coming to the world. You go back with nothing, and just a little space in the Islamic writing. You're seeing pictures of how it's being done, and the prayers are now the prayers you cannot say for yourself. Others will have to say for you right now. Prayers for the forgiveness of your soul, prayers for the forgiveness of your deeds, prayer for the forgiveness and mercy for your soul. In all of this.
So, Sean, we see the military pallbearers coming in once more, bearing in very true, dignified military fashion the body of the late Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, General Muhammadu Buhari, who served as Nigeria's military president from 1983 to 1985 and had the privilege of being a civilian democratically elected president in 2015 to 2023. The ceremony is now underway for the final interment, and once again, the Nigerian Armed Forces is doing what it knows how to do best, rolling in the body on that the trolley, the concealment trolley, which bears the body on, draped in the colors of the Nigerian flag. I said earlier that flag will not go into the body. It will be folded neatly and presented to the Buhari family in gratitude for the service that their father rendered this country as not only a military officer, but also as President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces.
Some of the pallbearers, you can see they are generous. And some of them include, you can see them on the consignment trolley there. The team includes Major General Muhammad Usman, Major General Oluwafemi Williams, Major General Shuaibu Nuhu, Rear Admiral Sulaiman Dahun, Rear Admiral Jonathan Ajodo, Rear Admiral Samuel Ingatua, Air Vice Marshal Adeni Herbert Amesinola, Air Vice Marshal Idi Sani, and Air Vice Marshal Obina Obiabaka. And Major General Mike Alechen, who coordinated the team, and you can see him right there. This is the ceremonial uniform of these the military when they are performing this kind of event.
Our correspondent Lupa.
This shouldn't take a lot of time. This shouldn't take a lot of time because as soon as we've seen the body arrive, there will be a prayer. This naturally will be coordinated by the chief imam. And you can see the pallbearers have now dispersed and left the body alone. And the chief imam will now take charge. He's the officiating priest, or so to say, a cleric in this regard. And he will be the one to take charge and now ensure that the final committee to Mother Earth is done in the right manner. And all of the obeisance to all the rites has to be done. And family members, well wishers who are designated will be allowed also their final respect.
We are out of that place now. We will be caught to court.
The view of the Buhari family, but right now it's only the son that we are seeing close to the graveside. If you observe that, you haven't seen the wife, you haven't seen the daughters. She has, quite a number of daughters and the wife.
There are a few restrictions as to the Islamic practice, and perhaps part of what we're seeing right now. I was brought up around a lot of this culture and religion, so a bit of what I know is that dead bodies, and the extent at which you can permit, who can be around it, who can understand. In fact, the body washing, which is one of the process of Islamic burial rites, has been done in London.
Yes. The minister was talking about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and in all of these, there are specified. There are the rites of passage in terms of burial in the Islamic rite. They are detailed, they're specific. And when you're burying a leader as this, there are a lot of things that have to be put in consideration. The young man, Yusuf, is carrying a lot of burden on his shoulder in this moment. As he's not the eldest of the children, but in the moment we see him playing a prominent role in this regard. So let's perhaps have another feel of what is going on right on the ground.
Mike is there.
Health secrets of our presidents, to be exposed. And in other countries, even if they need specialists, what they do is that they bring them into the country.
It
like the US and all of that.
It leaves the president vulnerable.
Yeah, very vulnerable and all of that. And so it doesn't really speak well of us.
Yeah.
Considering that even Professor Gambari has said it last night, the monarchs of Saudi Arabia. How do we get a jet to fly the person out for 6 hours, 8 hours? That's a security risk itself. If that continues to happen, we may have a situation in the future where a president may not survive the trip. The long trip from Nigeria to whatever the person is going to, within that moment of trying to get the person out.
What is going on at the graveside is the most senior Nigerian military officer in service, General Christopher Musa, who is reading citation on the former President Muhammadu Buhari as part of the interment, final interment process, which of course, when that happened, we've heard 21 gun salutes given to the late general, who is being respected by all and sundry. And the final interment, religious part of it, is going to be led by the chief imam. And you can see on the graveside, Governor Diko Rada, officials of government and family members, and some of the close associates of the late President Muhammadu Buhari.
Yeah, so you can see clearly that the military tradition seems to have extended the time of the burial. Because if it were just to be an Islamic burial, I'm sure by this time everything would have been done.
Absolutely.
So far in the last almost 30 minutes, it's been one military thing, practice, tradition, ritual after the other. Now we have the reading of the oration, which I'm sure is not part of the regular Islamic
it came back to what I said about the battle for, it's a reality. The military, the man has so many parts. A politician, a military man, soldier, a Muslim. a father,
ultimately,
you know, a family man. So everyone will want to have an equal portion, or maybe not ability to get equal portion, but then everybody wants to have a bite in all of what is going on as a final respect. After now, what is left of Muhammadu Buhari is in the memories of everyone.
Indeed, Sean, you bet that his legacy will continue to be spoken of, examined, dissected, scrutinized in the coming days. Perhaps we might see again the emergence of the Buharis defending very staunchly what the President, Muhammadu Buhari, stood for. But I think generally there has been a consensus that the President did his best. Now, whether his best was good enough is the question that is on the lips of many.
I think that what Bishop Kukah has said seems to be, to me, a very fair appraiser. And what he said essentially is that don't use the 8-year presidency of Buhari to judge him. That's quite a very, I find that a very profound point to say that, look, you can't just say somebody who is 82 years old, it's the 8 years alone that defines his life. Indeed. The only difference is that, of course, you know, when you come to that peak of life, when you become a president or a leader of a country such as Nigeria, there's no doubt that your preeminence, you know, of holding such a position will also open you to that kind of, you know, limitation to say that, look, it is what happened in his 8 years presidency that we're going to use. But I think Matikuka made a very good point that, look, this man is 82 years old. Don't use what happened in the last 8 years to judge him. Very important point.
Absolutely. One thing that you cannot take away from him, there are some facts about Buhari. That he's a general, yes. That he was the military ruler, yes. That he was elected president, yes.
And I think we all can agree on the facts.
Those facts, they are on, but those things are debatable is whether or not he was able to live up to the expectations of the promises that he made on the platform of the change that he came with.
Yeah.
But he's a man whose political figure is towering. And you will imagine if you are being described is being described in the modern times as perhaps the most influential political figure out of northern Nigeria. It's even being compared as high as the Sardauner of Sokoto. So these are very interesting. And so let's allow you to also have a feel of what is going on. Or a member of the family.
Not directly, Sean. So you see now that it was presented to the officer coordinating, who will in turn give it to the Chief of Defense Staff, who in turn will present it to the President, and then the President will present it on behalf of Nigeria and Nigerians to the family of late Muhammadu Buhari in gratitude for his life of service to the nation. But what we're witnessing right now is that has been given to the Chief of Defense Staff, and I think the Chief of Defense Staff is, it's been given to him now as we speak.
So what we are saying, right, I mean, what has happened to them out there is a merger, a combination of Islamic burial rites and the military funeral process. So they try to juggle both. You know, you can see the Vice President, a former Zamfara State Governor, and of course the body is being stripped of the flag, the Nigerian colors, and the flag will then be presented as the Mark has mentioned.
So there were two flags.
Yeah.
Or there were two flags on top. One has been presented to the family. The other was just to drape it, perhaps for the sake of dignity. But we know that according to Islamic rites, he can only be buried in a white piece of cloth. So that last piece of flag has been taken off, and now you can see the dignitaries around the final resting place, led by Vice President Kashim Shettima. Of course, President Tinubu is looking on from a distance there, but is not directly by the graveside. We can see the Vice President there, and it appears that the final prayers will be said as his body is being lowered into the grave, the final resting place. We already saw that tiny...
Interesting.
A man who I had the privilege of actually interviewing him before he became, just before he became president.
Yeah,
to be honest with you,
the citation is being read, the gun salute, and the burger is being played, showing the final respect, and then the flag is being unveiled on the body of the dead and handed over to a member of the family. All these have been done. And Chief Imam is the one who will coordinate the final committee to Mother Earth. And that's what we're seeing live right now.
Sure, I think one of the things that also sticks out here is the fact that we can see on the side there, because after he's been lowered into Mother Earth, you can see that there are a number of paraphernalia right beside it, sticks and mats, which will be used to cover that final resting place. And it would seem that in Islam, no matter who you are, that is just how you're going to be laid to rest. It's not the
simplicity.
Yes, it's not dependent on your status in life. It does appear that it will be something as simple as sticks and a mat.
Yeah, there is a status to bury the dead. You assume that status as long as you are a Muslim and you decide to be buried in the Islamic way. That is the status. Your status as human breathing, as soon as you're dead, this is what happens according to Islamic rite. And it shows the stark simplicity of life, the circle of life, the sheer humanity in when the life is out of the human body, and a lot of things that happen when a man breathes his last. So this is the moment we have all been waiting for, the final interment of the Nigeria's former president, Muhammadu Buhari. They call him, some call him Baba, some call him Megaskia, some call him say Buhari. Whatever it is to you, whoever it may appear to you, this is the man that you cannot dispute the fact that he was a general in the army, former head of state, two-time Nigeria's elected president, who died at the age of 82. And before sunset, he's been buried in the hometown where he was born in Daura, Katsina State.
Indeed, Sean, the time as we speak is 5:53 p.m. local time, and you see that the sticks are finally being the sticks that had been on the side are finally being put across that final resting place. They will be covered with the mat, perhaps also with the sand we also see there, and that is the note of finality to this life lived with passion for Nigeria, lived with devotion to the unity of Nigeria. For those who have sent in their tribute to a man who has taught us a lesson in resilience and not giving up easily on the hopes that you have for your country. Now, as we have earlier highlighted, whether or not he was able to live up to the ideals which a lot of Nigerians had believed the jury will still be out. I guess that will be discussed for many days and weeks to come, or perhaps even years when history has been considered. Usually the prayer is that history be kind to you. But as we see right now, the final rites being done, the sticks have now been laid across, and the mats are now being put on that final resting place, soon to be covered with earth and perhaps that will be it for, what we know for the Islamic burial rites?
Of course, some of the processes in an Islamic burial is such that the body is carried to the burial site. Of course, we've seen that often in a silent procession with only men traditionally allowed to attend the burial. And oftentimes the graves is dug perpendicular to Mecca. The body is placed on his right side facing the holy city. And each mourner, he says, placed 3 handfuls of soil into the grave. And there is a marker which we are seeing is placed to identify the grave without elaborate designs. And in all of this is the fact that when gathering at the designated area, there are about 3 rows typically form at least 3 rows with men in front, followed by children, and then women at the back. So Islamically speaking, women are not allowed in proximity too close. Men in front, children followed in that row, in that order, and women at the back. And usually the body is wrapped in 3 for men or 5 for women pieces of white cloth. And so we've seen that, the stark white cloth. And all of this is said to show simplicity, spirituality, and speed.
All of this were done in the time when there was no technology, Seun. But today, we can tell you that a lot of people have been able to see, with the aid of technology and the advent of television and social media, being able to get a front line view of the burial ceremony. Yeah. That includes women and children who would have been at the back. Today, we can see on the TV, I can say, Seun,
that's a very important point.
Absolutely.
As close as possible.
They're talking about physical proximity, not virtual or
no, but it is a point to make, because these pictures are coming to us live and they're as real as they get. Yeah. I mean, we can see firsthand what is being done, not just myself, but thousands, millions of Nigerians who are currently watching this broadcast, not just on our platform, but on many other platforms that are broadcasting as well. And they're seeing these pictures being beamed live directly into their homes, and they can be a part of this. We know that in Nigeria today, public holiday has been declared in honor of the president, so a lot of people will be at home, and usually there is a bit of sobriety that follows this moment. A reminder that we all came from or for those who believe in a force greater than us, that there will be a moment of reckoning and a moment when we shall breathe no more, and this is all that will be allowed.
So what you're seeing right now, the chief imam performing the final rites of in his passage moments for the late president. Of course, they're covering the body, and prominently you can see the heart of a former governor of Ogun State, who is a very close ally, a friend to the former president. In fact, the former president would say that whenever he was in Lagos, he often sleeps in the house of Ibikunle Amosun, and you can see him right in the front row, back in the camera, and the vice president and all the dignitaries are right there, just at the grave side, trying to pay their final respect. So just to note that this is a final moment.
Them in their villages or towns, it defeats the idea of being a Nigerian president. A personal property of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So the idea of burying our eminent leaders, especially those who have bestrode, the four corners of the country, in Abuja at the National Cemetery, needs to be revisited. The National Assembly needs to decree a policy that will say, a law, that will say, that anybody who has served the country in presidential capacity or who is an incumbent that dies in office should be buried in Abuja, because you no longer belong to your family, you no longer belong to your hometown or so. So if not, the idea of one Nigeria or the idea of Nigeria as a nation will be defeated. So we copied this presidential system from the US. We see how they do with the final remains of their president. How come when it gets to this, after having a towering national figure as a president, those people will now decide to just bring themselves down and said that they want to be buried just like any other person in their hometown. I think that idea needs to be revisited by the National Assembly.
On that note, Sumner, I want to thank you very much indeed for now. Sumner Sambo is Arise political editor.
Have like So pictures still coming to you from Daura, and you can see those visuals of mourners thronging the, well, will I say, the way to the residence of President Muhammadu Buhari, where his body has now been laid to rest, has been interred into Mother Earth at its final resting place in his compound in Daura. We saw the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, reading that citation, the flag folded, presented to the family in gratitude for the life of service that President Muhammadu Buhari lived. The body was interred, covered with sticks, and then a mat, and then finally with earth. And we could see the people who were there at that graveside doing what they could. We understand that some of them initially, taking mounds of sand in their hand as a sign of love and devotion to the president, to the former president. And much later, of course, perhaps to speed up the process, shovels were used to speed up that particular process, and that has now been completed. The military rites have also been completed as well, and it is, will I say, the final full stop to the rites that concern the farewell to President Muhammadu Buhari, who lived for a full 82 years, leading for 10 of those years as Nigeria's military and two-time civilian president. What a remarkable story it's been all day, Seun. Following the story from the beginning, when the body left London at about 8 a.m. this morning, waiting for it to arrive in at the Umaru Musa Yar'Adua Airport in Katsina State to be received by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and then from there make its way by road to Daura, with lots of people who could wait by the roadside to also pay their last respect. On arrival in Daura, people were already lined in front of his house in GRA in Daura. We saw what happened there, waiting very patiently for the body to arrive to a makeshift prayer ground where the prayers were said by the chief imam of Daura, and then much later taken to the compound of the late president for a final interment. So it's gone across continents. It was saying from Europe back to Africa, where specifically Nigeria, where the body, the life of General Muhammadu Buhari will continue to, his legacies as well will be celebrated and examined and scrutinized, as they say. May history be kind to him.
Absolutely. This is where it all ends. An 82-year journey and sun setting on the man who started that journey December 17, 1942 in that same place in Daura in Katsina State, and joined the military at about 19 years of age, and grew to the rank of a general. At some point in 1983, he became a military head of state until 1985, democratically elected as president in 2015 and bowed out of a second term in office in 2023, handed over power to the incumbent president, Bola Tinubu, of the same party, APC. The president took ill at about April this year and went to a London clinic where he was getting treatment, and we were told it was getting better until Sunday when he breathed his last. At 82 years, the man bowed out of life and of this earth. And after doing all of this service, serving Nigeria in different capacity as military head of state and as a democratically elected president for 10 years, and now he's come back on a final journey to his hometown where he started all of this. And thank you so much, everyone, for these, for staying with us, abiding with us in all of this coverage and allowing us to bring you all of the insight, the perspectives. And of course, one man that also had a close contact with him, working closely with him at close proximity is Laulu Akande, who has also been with us. Laulu, thank you so much indeed.
Thank you for having me. Let me say that the words of John Donne, the British poet, rings very true. He says that the death of any man diminishes me, and so never ask for whom the bell tolls. It was for thee. I hope that the simplicity of the hand of Buhari's life will remind us of what our duties and obligations are, especially when God grants us the grace to be leaders.
tó ẹ kú àtàárọ̀ o ẹ dẹ̀kú bí ètò ọ̀hún bó ṣe lọ ó dẹ̀ dá mi lójú pé ẹ ti rí ọ̀kan àbí méjì ń tẹ́ ẹ fẹ́ gbọ́ àbí tẹ́ ẹ fẹ́ rí ẹ ti rí gbogbo ẹ̀ nínú ètò tòní. tó ó kù tọjọ́ mi àmọ́ kí n tó lẹ́jẹ̀ máa rán yín létí pé ètò tẹ́ ń wò ẹ máa bá mi like ẹ máa share o kẹ́ẹ̀dẹ̀ máa bá mi wá more subscription nítorí pé Wo TV ń gòkè àgbà ìrànlọ́wọ́ yín ni àti ìrànlọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run Ọba títí wá dìgbà míì táwùjọ máa fojú níjú lórí ìkànnì pẹ̀lú àkọ́tún ètò míì tó tún gbọ́ngbọ́ àdìgbòlódò dọ́ra wọn ni mò ń jẹ́ o ẹ ti mọ̀ mí lànà kó tó dé ní ẹ má jẹ́ n porí kíkun àmọ́ títí dìgbà míì ńkọ́ ẹ kú àtàárọ̀ ẹ kú iṣẹ́ ìní ṣé kò rẹra jù kédùmarè ó jí wa rí.